Stocks close higher on Wall Street, led by the Nasdaq, which gains for the third straight session. AI chipmaker Nvidia surges in after-hours trade as earnings top estimates. Stocks in the Asia-Pacific too rally, while the GIFT Nifty is indicating a higher start for the Indian market. Oil prices dip. Brent loses up to 2.5%, but recovers some ground to close around 1% lower at around $83 a barrel. Gold gains around 1% to close at a 2-week high. And the Qatar Investment Authority makes a $1 billion bet on Reliance Retail, invests over 8,200 crore rupees, valuing Reliance Retail at $100 billion. And India has created history. The Chandrayaan-3 moon mission successfully lands a rover on the surface of the moon. India becomes the first nation to land a probe on the southern pole of the moon. Yevgeny Prigozhin, the head of Russian mercenary force Wagner PMC and the man who launched an armed mutiny against Russian President Vladimir Putin in June, dies in a private jet crash near Moscow. Prigozhin and his commander-in-chief were among the 10 who lost their lives in the crash. Hey guys, a very good morning and welcome to Power Breakfast. I'm Pavitra Parekh. Those are the top headlines that we have for you this morning. There's a lot to talk about, but for starters, what a historic day it was yesterday for India, for science overall in general, with the Chandrayaan-3 really landing on the surface of the moon. So truly an incredible moment for all of us here in India, and a big, big congratulations to the entire team at ISRO. We have lots planned for you. We're going to bring you all of the visuals, so stay tuned for that. But first up, let's just take a look at what's going on across the global markets. We did get a very good handover from Wall Street, and on the back of that, you have all of the Asian markets which are trading well in the green. What's doing the best right now is the Taiwanese market, so it's up almost 200 points. Remember, this is a market which rallied yesterday as well. So, we've seen around 2.5% in terms of a gain for the Taiwanese markets this week itself. The Hong Kong market has also picked up. It's 1.2% in the green, so looking very good there. Nikkei, Shanghai, both seeing gains of around 0.3%. And the Kospi also in the past few minutes has moved up even more. So it's now around 0.8% higher. So across the board for Asia, looking like a very good start. There's no complaints with this screen. The GIFT Nifty also indicating that the start for our own markets will be higher. So it is around 82 points in the green. It's only moved higher in the past half hour or so. And we did close around 50 points in the green. And now it looks like the open will be well in the green as well. So that's what's happening across Asia. But let's also talk about the US now, ahead of the all-important Jackson Hole Economic Symposium, which starts today. The Dow ended the session with an 184-point bump up that we saw yesterday. The S&P 500 and the tech-heavy Nasdaq, meanwhile, also closed well in the green, over 1% higher. Now, I want to mention that, in the US, we had chip stocks rallied ahead of Nvidia's earnings. This also, of course, helped the Nasdaq really move higher. And that's why we saw that kind of big over 200-point move on the Nasdaq. And we've now seen the Nasdaq gain for 3 straight days. And with this, it is up over 3% for this week as well. That's in just 3 trading sessions. So we have CNBC Seema Modi is here, who's with us to bring us all of that action from Wall Street.
U.S. markets were up across the board today as Wall Street waited for earnings to show the way on artificial intelligence. But a decline in Treasury yields also helped investors' sentiment. The Dow closing up by 184 points, S&P 500 up 48, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq outperforming up 215 points on the day. Nvidia reporting earnings, an 88% jump in revenue, and topped estimates. It also saw that performance was driven by demand for AI chips. The company also announcing $25 billion in stock buybacks. The guidance estimates sales will grow 170% on an annual basis in the current quarter, and the stock is moving. In the media space, Hollywood's major studios are going public with their latest contract proposal to writers. The offer includes wage increases, proposals to ban material written by AI from being considered literary material, and a proposal on writer room staffing. But the Writers Guild slammed the proposal as a ploy not to bargain, urging its members to keep picketing. That's what's happening here in the U.S. Back over to you in Mumbai.
All right, Seema, thanks a lot for getting us all of that action from the U.S. But, like we mentioned, the Jackson Hole Economic Summit that gets underway today is a big cue for markets worldwide. And Fed Chair Jerome Powell will speak at the conference tomorrow. And, of course, Wall Street and, markets across the world will closely track his comments for further cues on the central bank's inflation fight. Now, U.S. Treasury yields fell ahead of the summit. And on that note, let's also listen to what Dubravko Lakos of J.P. Morgan had to say on what he really expects from the conference that begins later today.
that big of an event. I think they'll just, emphasize, again, data dependency. I think if you look at what the bond market is telling you is that, hey, they could do maybe a little bit more, or they could hang around the current level for longer. I don't think you're seeing any sort of strong weakness in the recent prints that suggest they're going to be easing anytime soon. So I think they stay put and data dependent.
All right, that is some important opinion that we are getting. But let's now talk about all of the cues that you should track ahead of this session opening. So we have Nigel, Vivek and Surabhi, all of them with us to really bring you the trade setup this morning. Guys, a very good morning to all of you. Vivek, coming to you first. Looks like, the handover has been positive. The start also will be well in the green.
Absolutely, and after a while, we are seeing positive cues as far as, the overnight handover is concerned. Like you said, global markets focused on the Jackson Hole Symposium. Also, yesterday, post-market as USA, Nvidia delivered a very good set of numbers, and that too aided the sentiment. US, the handover was quite strong. Nasdaq, in fact, rallying for the third straight session. Crude oil prices too continue to see selling pressure. In fact, Brent futures yesterday fell almost 1% to less than $83.2 a barrel. Now, coming to the Indian markets, yesterday Nifty managed to close above the 19,400 level. Yesterday's performance was actually led by the financials, where we saw very strong buying activity as far as the entire financial space was concerned. And however, the story continues to remain in the broader end of the markets, with the mid-cap index continuing to hit fresh record highs. So it'll be interesting to see whether that particular trend continues in today's trading as well. Now, when you're talking about the primary market, Aeroflex Industries, that particular company yesterday was the second day of bidding, and very strong subscription numbers, over 21 times subscription over there. Asian markets indicating a strong start, GIFT Nifty too indicating a gap up start for our own markets.
All right, big gap up start. Let's see how things move from there. We're around 80 points higher right now on the GIFT Nifty. Vivek, thanks a lot for bringing us all of those cues. Let's also talk about the individual stocks that you should track, and Surabhi is here with that entire list. Hi, Surabhi.
Hi, Pavitra. The first one on my list is Reliance. Now, Qatar Investment Authority is going to invest close to 8,300 crores in Reliance Retail Ventures for an equity stake of 0.99%. Coforge, the sources say that Baring PE is likely to sell its entire stake of 26.63% via block deals. The offer price on these block deals is at 45.50, a 7.4% discount to its current market price. NHPC, the company signs an MOU with Andhra Pradesh Power Generation for pumped storage hydropower projects and renewable power projects. Vascon Engineers, the company gets a letter of acceptance worth over 600 crores from the Bihar Medical Services. And lastly, Torrent Pharma is also on our radar. The US FDA classifies the company's Dahej unit as the voluntary action needed versus official action needed indicated earlier.
All right, Surabhi, thanks a lot for getting us that entire list of stocks. We're going to watch for all of these. And finally, Nigel is also here to take us through what's really going on the F&O side of things. Nigel.
Well, morning, Pavitra. Yesterday, in fact, we did see a bit of a relief rally, though towards the end, we gave back some part of their advantage. Remember, the Nifty futures continues to trade in a bit of a discount, telling you that the markets are still more on the short side than on the long side. And yesterday, we saw a mild short covering coming in from the FIs, and they added long positions as well. So the total swing out there in terms of positioning is close to around 10,000 contracts, because they covered shorts and they added longs. And the short positioning has come down from around 61% to around 55% just in the last 1 week or so. On the option side, they bought puts big time. So in case things go wrong, there's a bit of a cushion out there. But for me, the biggest positive yesterday was the way they wrote puts. They wrote close to around 3 lakh puts, and the writing was across both the Nifty as well as the Nifty Bank. Let's get up the Nifty strike first. That was very active in yesterday's trading session. The 19,400 put, that was fairly active. It added close to around 70 lakh shares. The premium out there close to around 30 rupees. Now, in terms of levels, since that particular strike is getting written, you'll expect some kind of support at around the 19,350 to around 19,370 odd mark. On the upside, the 20 DMA, that remains a line in the sand, and the bulls will like to conquer that mark. Moving to the Nifty Bank, well, out there, the 44,300 put as well was fairly active. Remember, yesterday, the Nifty Bank came to the party. It was up close to around 500 points approximately. Though the Nifty came off, well, it went home with good gains. There was writing being seen out there, premium as well at around 71 rupees. But at the start of the trading session, it was close to around 300 rupees. So getting you the levels then, the crucial resistance zone is at around 44,700, 44,800 odd. That's the resistance zone out there. Near-term support comes in at around 44,200, because on the upside, when we were moving up, that was a bit of a resistance. And if you break that, then you're eyeing the 100 DMA or thereabouts. The GIFT Nifty, for starters today, just going by what cues we are seeing globally, it's indicating a gap up. We need the Nifty to hold closer to around the 20 DMA and surpass that to have further legs. but we're well poised today. So let's see how it goes.
All right, let's see how it goes. Nigel, thanks a lot for taking us through all of those cues. But with that, we do need to get into a short break. When we return, like we told you, the Qatar Investment Authority has invested more than 8,200 crore rupees, valuing Reliance Retail at $100 billion. We're going to bring you all of the details in this story when we come back. Welcome back. You're still tuned into Power Breakfast, and let's now talk about the big corporate story from last evening. Qatar Investment Authority will invest more than 8,200 crore rupees in Reliance Retail for a little less than a 1% stake. Now, the investment will value Reliance Retail at $100 billion. Nisha is here to bring us all of the details on this. Nisha.
It's a big announcement coming in by the large conglomerate Reliance Industries, which has announced that its retail arm, Reliance Retail Ventures, is getting an investment of 8,278 crore rupees from a global investor, Qatar Investment Authority, and they are picking up a less than 1% stake, that is 0.99% stake for 8,200 crore rupees. Now, this puts the valuation of Reliance Retail Ventures at $100 billion. Now, this is important because 3 years back, you will remember in the middle of COVID in 2020, Reliance Retail Ventures had a spate of large global marquee investors investing 47,000 odd crore rupees, and that was done at a valuation of about $50 billion. So in 3 years from 2020 to 23, the valuation of Reliance Retail has jumped to double. And the company has also really grown at a scorching pace. In fact, its revenues have grown in terms of percentage higher than other verticals in the group and the flagship oil to chemicals business as well. So looking at this stock scorching pace, $100 billion valuation has been given by QIA to Reliance Retail Ventures. It is also an expectation, and many brokerage reports had also suggested this kind of valuation. But this is an important event because QIA has given a stamp of approval to this particular valuation by making an investment of 8,200 crore rupees. So it's an important event there because the valuation benchmarking has taken place, and it also raises the expectations for the shareholders and investors of Reliance Industries, because this announcement is coming just a few days ahead of the annual general meeting of Reliance Industries on August 28th. So all eyes on the AGM and the big announcements coming in from Mukesh Dhirubhai Ambani. AGMs are always a big announcement affair for Reliance Industries, and investors after this development would raise their expectations on the timelines for the IPO of Reliance Retail. So watching out for the AGM.
All right, Nisha, thanks a lot for bringing us all of the details on this very important story, that is QIA valuing Reliance Retail at $100 billion. But with that, we are also going to move on and bring you some very important opinion coming in. At the CNBC TV 18 Banking Summit, Shireen Ban spoke to veteran banker Uday Kotak on a whole host of issues, from the banking conglomerate succession plan to the latest trends in the sector as well. So let's listen in to some excerpts from that chat.
So what is the aspiration for Kotak Mahindra Bank? What is it that you would like the bank to be able to achieve over the next 5 to 10 years? What do you see for it?
I think we need to, for the future, we need to learn from the Apples, the Googles, the Amazons of the world, and we need to keep the spirit of the JP Morgans of the world. And how do you get a combination of both these at the same time to create an institution which India will be proud of?
I know that I'm not going to be able to get anything more from you on succession, but confident of passing on the baton there?
I think I really would like to see this institution in the famous, which was it, Tennyson poem, men may come and men may go, but I go on forever. You have to keep this fact in mind, that such high levels of risk in the system and the contagion which a banking failure creates in a system actually make a strong case of having banks independent of business houses.
So keep the doors shut.
This is my view, because of inherent conflicts of interest and the risk of self-dealing.
But what do you foresee specifically for the banking sector? You gave us a whole host of other sectors where we have seen a fair degree, some, because players have just exited the market. And we've seen that even as far as the aviation sector is concerned. But what do you believe you foresee for the banking sector specifically? And will you continue to play consolidator, a role that you have played previously?
See, I think don't expect, especially in the public sector, anything major till 2024 middle. But beyond that, I mean, my view is maybe we need 4 or 5 large public sector banks.
All right, that is the word coming in from Uday Kotak. We're going to bring you excerpts from this chat through the day right here. So remember to stay tuned for that. But for now, it is time for a short break. On the other side, India has made history by becoming the first country to land on the south pole of the moon. We're going to bring you all of the details and the visuals when we come back. Welcome back. You're still tuned into Power Breakfast, and let's talk about all of the cues from the commodity markets because there's been a lot of action there as well. Manisha joins us to fill us in with the details. Manisha, I know there was a bit of a recovery in crude prices, but at one point it was down nearly 3%.
Oh, it was, yes, and that's how we're trading right now as well. So it's trading at a 3-week lows right now. The slowdown in China, the weak PMI number that's come in from US and much part of Eurozone really seems to be, weighing onto the markets. And apart from that, even as the US crude inventories have declined, but there's an increase in the buildup in gas and distillate inventories, telling you that the demand on ground in US also seems to be slowing down, and that's weighing onto the markets. This is a week that looks like is headed for a decline yet again as a second straight week for the crude prices. But strong gains coming back in case of gold and silver overnight. Gold is back above $19.10 an ounce. The decline in US dollar from its 2-month highs as of the Jackson Hole meeting seems to be supporting gold and silver, which gained 4% overnight as well.
All right, Manisha, thanks a lot for bringing us all of those details in terms of the action from the commodity markets. But with that, let's talk about the most exciting news this morning. India has kept its date with history and has become the first country to land on the south pole of the moon. At around 6:04 last evening, the Chandrayaan-3 touched the lunar surface. And with this feat, India has entered the elite club of nations that have landed on the moon. However, it is important to note that no country has ever successfully landed near the south pole of the lunar surface. And for the next 14 days, which is equivalent to one moon day, the Pragyan rover will send images and data from the surface of the moon. The data is extremely crucial as it will help scientists learn more about the moon's history and evolution and go a long way in planning future missions as well. The atmosphere at the ISRO Command Center in Bengaluru was absolutely euphoric as scientists involved in making this mission a reality celebrated the historic day. In fact, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and several other prominent Indians across the world cheered this mega milestone for India. All right, so that is the big news that we're looking at. But there's some more positive news as well for India. And before we wrap up, the big chess update as well for you. India's R. Pragnananda has held world champion Magnus Carlsen to a draw, playing with the black pieces in the second match of the World Cup finals. This means that the finals will now be decided by a tiebreaker today. And the tiebreaker will see two grandmasters face off in two rapid games of 25 minutes each, with the possibility of another two rapid games in case there's a draw once again. So really hoping for the best over here as well. And that is all of the news that we're tracking on this edition of Power Breakfast. But with that, we're going to wind down with the news that Asia is well in the green. Looks like we're going to get a gap up start as well. So let's see how things really move from there. Thank you for tuning into Power Breakfast. We have Bazaar Morning Call up for you after this short break.